There's Roger Yates, all the way from Dublin, especially to come and talk to us. Sociologist Roger went vegan in 1979, ran several action groups in the 1980s, served as the Northern Press Officer for the Animal Liberation Front, and now runs the Dublin-based Vegan Information Project. Co-host still alive with Ronnie Lee, who's just there, and has a YouTube channel for the Vegan Time Tunnel. He's also available on TikTok, Twitter, Facebook, Threads, and Instagram. The very wonderful, the very renowned, in my opinion, Dr. Roger Yates.
Thanks on. Don't be cheering, Ronnie Lee, that's going to spoil my day. Right, before we start, I'd like to thank the organisers. I'd like to thank the organisers for inviting me, but I want to thank them in general too, because organising these things is not easy. I've done it before in the past, and thankfully I don't do it anymore. So how about a round of applause for the organisers? Right, well, as Alan said, I've been vegan for 45 years, but there's loads of vegans now who've been vegan for that long. And there's also loads of people who've been vegan for longer, including Ronnie Lee, a true legend of the movement, 52 years vegan, but there's others too, Angie Wright, Bernie Wright back in Dublin, and we couldn't forget John Cross, 81 years vegan. So all that vegan deterioration stuff is just a load of crap. Right. Now, what I said, I'm going to compete with Big Ben now. What I said with the promo to this was that one of my favourite things is to talk to new vegans about their own movement, introduce them to their movement, if you like. And the reason I think that's important is because 9 times out of 10, this movement is far more militant and radical than they knew. And so I just want to kind of go through a few things that get said in this kind of scenario, if you like. So we've got to go back to go forward. We've got to go back to the beginning of the last century, 1900, 1910, and the vegetarians. Because the vegetarians were debating off and on whether it was ethical to consume cow milk or not, or calf food as I call it, and also eggs, and also honey sometimes. And so this discourse went on all the way through into the mid-1940s. Went through the First World War, got disrupted by that of course, into the Second World War. And by the time we get to 1944, there was a small group of people who were known as the non-dairy vegetarians. Now these are the pioneers of our movement, even if they didn't know it at the time. So we're talking about Elsie Strigley, we're talking about Kathleen Janaway, Donald Watson, we got Leslie Cross, lots and lots of people, Arthur Ling, the Hendersons, loads and loads of people, Eva Batt. Now these were radicals for their time. They were free thinkers. They were often anti-establishment. Some of them were conscientious objectors because they said that they'll fight fires, but they won't kill anyone. They won't kill anyone of any species, they said. So these were radicals for their time. And so in 1944, 2 of them, Elsie Strigley and Donald Watson, go to the Vegetarian Society and ask for them to set up a non-dairy section. And this point cannot be overemphasized, right? Because it still affects us now, and it's to our great benefit. The vegetarians said no. Now, they weren't particularly rude. They just said, no, we want to do our own thing. So if you want to do something else, something bigger, something better, you go and do it. And so that's what actually happened. So without any planning, and they didn't think this is going to happen, It was foisted on them in a way. These non-dairy vegetarians ended up running a brand spanking new social movement, and they kind of didn't know how to do it. And also, it was still the time of war, and it was still the time of rationing. So it was remarkable that they did that. The start was a little bit wobbly, but when we roll round to 1949, Leslie Cross said, you know, we don't have a definition of veganism. It's not been a problem so far, but moving forward it will be. So we need to get some work done and sort out the definition of veganism. We know what a vegan diet is, but not the philosophy of veganism. Going back to 1945, Donald Watson had a bit of a go because he declared that the object of the Vegan Society was to oppose the exploitation of sentient life. And he added, whether it's profitable to do so or not, this kind of ethos of profit, just before profit, that kind of thing. So we get to 49, and then there is a search for veganism, which ends in 1954 with the publication of a remarkable philosophical essay by Leslie Cross, and it was called The Surge of Freedom. This is the final philosophical statement of vegan philosophy. Now, luckily, all of these things are still online, so you can read them. And Andy Atkinson, the vegan filmmaker, is also narrating them all, so you can hear them as well as read them. They're very remarkable. What we get then as the grounding for our movement is a radical move away from non-dairy vegetarianism. That goes out of the window really quick. We're a liberation movement. We're a radical abolitionist movement with the idea and philosophy of animal liberation at its core. This is a remarkably big, powerful and far-reaching movement as they saw it. So Cross talked about the two main aspects. Well, first of all, he said that we're not welfareists. He said that we're liberationists. We stand with the liberators. This is not about welfare, this is about abolition. And he said there's two broad aspects to veganism. The first one, I call this focus and scope. The first one is rather obvious. It's our relations with our fellow animals and what we want for them. What we want for them, which is their liberation, and we want the end of their oppression, we want the end of their exploitation. So that's the first broad aspect. The second broad aspect is about the moral evolution of humanity. Now, there's no doubt about it that the pioneers of our movement actually cared about humanity. They felt that humans had gone into a moral trough. We'd really hit rock bottom. They'd experienced at least one world war, some of them two. They were shattered by it. Some of them lost some great friends, and they wanted to know what had gone wrong with humanity. And we can still ask that same question. What has gone wrong with humanity? Just look around the world and see the shite that's going down. Okay, so we've still got a problem in terms of the moral evolution of humanity. This is what they want. In the end, Donald Watson declared that veganism was the only movement that can save humanity. He said that if vegan values became popular and widespread, it would represent the largest peaceful revolution ever known.
Yeah.
It would start new businesses, it would shut down industries for the benefit of all. That sentiment was repeated in the 1990s by Kathleen Janaway. She talked about the vegan way. She said if the vegan way became popular and widespread, then our fellow animals will get their liberation. They will be free from exploitation, and they will be free from oppression. But human warfare would also be abolished, and human poverty would also be abolished. This is a consistent theme through their work. She said, and this is a quote, "Veganism is as important as that." So going back to Cross then, and the surge of freedom. Now the thing about Leslie Cross is it's a bad mistake to cut little bits out, especially one single sentence. What you've got to do with Cross is read it in the entirety. As I said, there's available, and Andy has narrated them. So I'm just going to give you a flavour of the first 10 lines of The Surge. He said that he wrote the essay to state in simple terms what veganism is, how and why it came about, and to suggest what it could do for humanity. He said that veganism is a symbol for a huge change, a new mutation, he called it, a new mutation, comparable with the freeing of the serfs and the freeing of the slaves. This is a big idea. He said that the official definition, and I'll update the language, that humanity should live without exploiting our fellow animals is true and it's comprehensive. But it's not always fully understood, he said. And he said that that is understandable. And he said that's because very rarely have so few words, he counted 9, so few words encapsulate such a massive idea of veganism. If we could bring that into operation, he says, then everyone would be free. We'd have a new world and we'd have a new humanity to inhabit it. Donald Watson was always a bit more direct. Just before, well, a couple of years before his death, he wrote to Arthur Ling, and he said, by definition, veganism claims to help animals and people. And the vegan society, and vegan activism by extension, must show the way how to bring this about. Now, in a couple of minutes, I'm going to finish on that because it's a very important point. See, Watson and the early vegans had gone on a real journey. No longer dairy-free vegetarians. These were liberators with a radical vision of the future. It was the ultimate peace movement that they now saw themselves as running. And Watson also said, this is about 25 years in, he said, I come to the realization that the problems of the world will be solved together or they won't be solved. And he said, but the important part of that is that vegan values have got to be at the heart of that endeavor. If they're not at the heart of that endeavor, it's not going to work. And those sentiments were repeated later in Luxembourg by Steve Best, 2003, Total Liberation. He said, in David Nybert's terms, that yes, things are entangled, the entanglements of oppression and liberation. Everything is entangled and it'll all be solved together or it won't be solved. And he said that vegan values must be at the center, at the heart of any endeavor. So just coming to the end then, going back to Watson and us, what do we do to bring about what Watson wanted, which was this brilliant, ultimate peace movement? He was always on about ripening people up. And he wrote that first in 1944. We must ripen people up to a new idea, this newfangled idea of veganism. Now this is vegan education. That's what he was talking about. We need vegan education. And I'm always inspired at this point by the words of Ronnie Lee, who's over there somewhere. Oh, that way. Because Ronnie has got this phrase, which some of us know all too well, to our cost, which is that we need vegan education everywhere and all the time. But it doesn't have to be the big set piece things. It doesn't have to be the big kind of corporate things. This could be grassroots, could be small scale, could be small groups, individuals, couples of people doing it. So Ronnie and I have got this playlist on my YouTube channel. We had this show called Still Alive. It was Ronnie's idea for the title. And we had a look at about 50 or 60 different ways of outreach, and we whittled them down to our favourite 10 or 15 or so. So those can be still seen there. But the fundamental point is that to get what Donald Watson wanted, we need to do more of what we've started to do. Vegan education is new. It's this century only. It didn't exist in the 20th century, really. It's this century only, so we need a lot more of it. We need to, as an academic, I would say we need to operate. I can't even say it now. It's been a long time since I was an academic. We need to put it into operation. That's what we want. This is what Watson would have wanted. In a sense, this is our job. Our job, you people there, you people who are members of the Ultimate Peace Movement, you people who are liberators and not welfarists, you know, you people who are vegans in the 21st century, who can see clearly that we need liberation with animal liberation at its core. You are the ones who are needed to do that job. So people, my last word is, let's do our job. Let's get on with it. Cheers.
The truly remarkable Roger Yates there.
Yay!
So sadly, we come to the end of our day, here at least. I hope you're all inspired to get out there and do more activities, be more active, do more direct action, and let people know why we're here. Be as vocal as you possibly can, be as physical as you possibly can, and educate everybody as much as you can, as often as you can.